Hello, hello, hello. I'm glad to see some people coming in. I'm sorry about starting a little later tonight, but I had to take a few phone calls that were like important. And time just got away. Hey, Anna, Juju, Neum, Mousy. Yes, yes, yes. Mousy wants to know, oh, Sarah, what have you done now? Hmm. All I can say is a little bit more. A little bit more there, Mousy. Um, but that brings me to a question. Number one, how do I sound? Should I continue on or do I need to adjust? Hmm. Let's see. And then question number two would be, what do you want to start with? Shall I give you choices? Well, of course, we have Sarah Boone. And then, oh, thank you guys. Oh, my throat feels a little weird. That's. Let's do what Juju says. Okay, whatever Juju says. And Juju wants to start with Sarah Boone. And you know what, Juju? I kind of knew that because that's exactly what I have up. Okay. All right. So let's start with Sarah Boone. And well, I actually have a little bit of a clip to show you, but first I want to tell you just a little bit about what's going on. We're in jury selection. And remember in the hearing that we last did live, all of us together while we were waiting on things, George Kranick had said he wanted to get at least 50 jurors pre selected before they started their individual eliminations between the prosecution and the defense. Okay. And as of today, we got 53. So, well, you would think that we would be starting with the voir dire tomorrow morning. But we're not. No, we're not. Mm-mm. No. If you'll join me, we're all going to be live tomorrow morning for a motions hearing. They're going to address the state in the defense with the motion in Limi about battered spouse syndrome. And the first thing that I want to show you, well, no, first I'm going to make you happy with a little bit of Sarah, because you really don't really want to hear me, right? You really want to hear about Sarah. So, it's a motions hearing. Yes, it is, Juju. But it's a really important one, Juju, and I'm going to go into a little bit of detail about that after. I know, Mrs. Cassandra. I'm going to talk about that at the end, and thank you for noticing and for actually being happy for me. I really appreciate that, especially coming from you. Been here from the start. And so all of the mods as of right now, we are definitely going to let anybody talk in caps today that they want. Do not do anything to Mrs. Cassandra for that. Talk in caps all you want, people. And thank you all. I see the comments and you're making me grin really, really big. So thank you for that. Thank you, Mrs. C. That really means a lot. Oh man. What constitutes battered spouse syndrome? That means that because of long-term abuse with a significant other or an intimate partner, due to violence, aggression, abuse of some nature, you don't think rationally and can often think that you're in imminent danger because of past behavior when you're not. That is how the laws are written in some states. In Florida, though, however, you have to prove imminent threat for the self defense part of it, which is part of the entanglement that we're going to be talking about today. It's a very good question, Anna. A very good question. Um, and we're going to be going over a lot of that in the morning. I'm going to actually start the stream at 9 o'clock. The hearing is supposed to start at 9:30. And Anna, if you're interested, that stream at 9 o'clock will have more information on how Florida addresses battered spouse syndrome, because currently the state is pushing back really hard on the defense about this. And I'm going to show you, like right now. I'm going to read how serious they are to you. Let me just bring this up. Okay. Nope, that's not the right one. Sorry, guys. Wrong one. When you have everything labeled doc, you don't always find the one you want. This is true. Okay, now I got the right one. It. Let's make it big enough for you guys to see very well. And as we can see, there's top words right there. Here's where the issue is going to be for tomorrow. We have had a motion in eliminate in regards to the state against the defense in even using the battered spouse syndrome. They said without her testifying of imminent threat, how could she use the self-defense when she claimed, she didn't know what was going on? It was an accident all along. And they're going to have to prove that they're entitled to this actual defense. You can't just say it because you feel like that would get you, however, with the jury now, there are actually legal requirements to prove it. And so far, the state is pushing back that the defense nor the testimony of Sarah Boone actually did that. Her just saying things doesn't prove anything. Now they're pushing back later today, stating that the defense dropped 550 pages of medical records of George Torres Jr. on them, and that they had these medical records since January of 2022. And basically, well, Mr. J, the assistant DA, is pushing back pretty hard on this, but let me just read it through for you and what their argument about it is. Tonight, the state received 550 pages of medical records regarding the medical treatment of the decedent, that would be George, received in 2017 and 2018. The defendant acquired these records in January of 2022. The state adopts all the arguments and authorities cited in the state's motion eliminate to exclude battered spouse syndrome evidence or exclude mention of battered spouse syndrome evidence until the defendant testifies to a justifiable use of deadly force. That is the requirement. In other words, if you have been abused by someone and then you feel threatened by them and then you shoot them, battered spouse syndrome. It's justifiable use of deadly force. You were protecting yourself. You thought they were going to hurt you. Evidence from the past has shown that they more than likely were going to hurt you. But here is what the state's saying. How could he hurt you while locked up inside a suitcase? Do your words during the investigation matter, where you said you guys had not been fighting? No one laid hands on anyone. We had a really good day. It's been going great. George has been doing so much better. Those are all quotes from Sarah Boone. Where's the deadly force? That's what the defense wants to know. And they're going to hold them to the legal force of it. The defendant, even in her most recent iteration of what happened on February 23rd, 2020, has not set forth the legal grounds to claim self-defense. Assuming that she does so at trial with a different version of events, oh my, the salt. ADAJ is getting really spicy. Then prior incidents of violence committed by the descendant that she was aware of would be admissible to show the reasonableness of her fear of imminent great bodily harm or death. These records are irrelevant. 487 pages of them regard an incident in December 24th of 2017 where the descendant was beaten so badly he needed facial reconstruction surgery. This is not relevant to whether the decedent committed a prior act of violence that the defendant was aware of occurring. If the incident that resulted in these injuries is somehow made relevant, the severity of the decedent's injuries is not. If the severity of these injuries is somehow relevant, then the defendant should narrow it down to the pertinent narrative history of what the decedent said happened and the treatment provided. This could be done in a handful of pages. In other words, George got beat by his brother in 2017. We've heard about this before. He was beat so badly, he was hospitalized. He was beat so badly, he needed reconstructive surgery. How does him getting beat by his brother cause imminent danger and threat to Sarah Boone? Now, some will say that perhaps it's because it shows that George was violent or that he incited violence in others. It still does not pertain to Sarah. But those of you that have been following this case since 2020 will know that in courting in Sarah's world, everything involves Sarah. Everything. But the state says you're being redundant here. You are just trying to bury the issue in papers. The 2018 incident is also not relevant. The history provided by the decedent was that he put his hand through a glass window the day before, and his wife made him go to the doctor the next day. He received 2 sutures to close a 4.5 centimeter laceration. Assuming that the defendant testifies in a manner to make that incident relevant, a couple of pages of these records with the narrative of what allegedly happened and the treatment provided is sufficient to corroborate her testimony. And here's where they get to calling them out. Burying the jury with 550 pages of records when nearly all of them are irrelevant when giving the defendant every benefit of the doubt on relevancy is unnecessary, and the probative value is substantially outweighed by the danger of unfair prejudice, confusion of the issues, misleading the jury, or needless presentation of cumulative evidence. Florida Statute 90.403. Therefore, the state objects to these records, barring their relevance being established at trial and their probative value not being substantially outweighed by the danger of unfair prejudice, confusion of issues, misleading the jury, or needless presentation of cumulative evidence. And William Robert J., our salty DA, that's how I'm referring to him from now on. He's been writing very, very salty, very, very salty. And the other thing that goes along with this is they are now notifying the defense that they are bringing in the complete medical examiner's report. All the pages, not just the summary, all of it. All of it for the jury. Now, they don't want the jury to have to go through 550 pages of a beating that has nothing to do with the relationship between Sarah and George. Now, Sarah's allowed to bring in evidence of her contentious relationship with George. She is, if this is what she's going to claim, that it was self-defense. Okay. But I think Sarah also needs to realize that this defense also brings in the testimony of her ex-husband, who is on record during the investigation of saying that Sarah lays hands, that he himself has had to restrain her because she gets violent when she drinks, and that she's been an alcoholic since her son was born. This is long term. Some of her affect now I'm starting to understand with that additional information. I had missed that the first time around in the interview. But no more. No more. Now, I do believe it is a whoops. I do believe it's pertinent. Thank you so much, Shill. Shill has just gifted 10 memberships to the channel. Thank you so much, Shill. That is so very, very generous of you. Oh, wow. Let's see if we can name Juju, Karen, Turling Test, Harley Corner, Captain Kid, Gamma Gamma 3, Dev Annan's Missing Teeth, John Levy, Tammy Martin, and Bex were all gifted memberships. And Shill, I thank you so much. I thank you for your support over the years and for actually that nice congratulations that you just put there. And I do appreciate you. I absolutely appreciate all of you, actually. Hell yeah, 5K. Thank you so much, Mousy, for yours too. Congratulations on the 5K. Yeah, thank you very much, Shill. And thank you so much, Mousy. Yeah, I'm overwhelmed, actually, guys. I know we're talking about Boone, but you're talking about this in the chat. So I definitely just want to say thank you to all of you that are here now, all of you that are listening out there, all of you that just helped me enjoy this hobby of mine. And I am absolutely grateful for all the things that you do to help me on this adventure of mine. And there are many of you that do. I could not possibly thank all of you individually. It would take a whole stream, which I'm probably going to do like in the beginning of November. Keep your eyes out. I'm going to be making a post soon. I want to turn this into a celebration for everyone, not just me. You all are just as much a part of this in where it goes. And I am truly grateful. Thanks for the honoring there, Wrecker. All right, back to Sarah Boone. Yes, Anna, I agree that the information is all pertinent in regards to their relationship, but it's going to go both ways. And there are police reports that show them both as the aggressor. There is going to be competing expert witness testimony from the two forensic psychiatrists, both Julie Harper and I think it's Tanya Maddock. I do not recall the name of the expert from the prosecutor right now. I will by tomorrow. But she also did an interview with Sarah Boone, and there's going to be conflicting, of course, opinion back and forth. That it's going to be who the jury believes is more credible. Okay, and then there's going to have to be testimony from Sarah Boone, and she is going to have to testify in order to use this defense. Then the state has already put her on notice that her last testimony in the motions hearing for entering in some information is going to be used against her. They are bringing it in. Sarah Boone keeps changing her story, and it's going to come to light. All right. Just recently, it came to light that Sarah Boone, in her latest interview with the expert witness for the state, recanted the whole incident and admitted to hitting George on the hand while he was poking it through the suitcase with the bat that we all know they took from the crime scene in the beginning. Now, there had been speculation that the state had thought that Sarah did do something to him with the bat based on the ME report, and now she's entering it in. When did that happen? I'd also like you to go back to some of these interviews if you have the time, or you could wait until they get entered into trial because they are all approved for evidence and haven't been thrown out. But there is the testimony of the roommates that heard such a clattering of something falling down the stairs in the middle of the night. Of Sarah Boone's sitting there on video that she made herself, claiming not to remember any of it. She doesn't remember making the videos, and she never wanted to watch them all the way through. And yet she remembers all these details 4 years later so clearly. So clearly that the story changed more than 5 times. This is going to be a heck of a trial. I know. It's going to be a heck of a trial. Thank you so much there, Mousy, for the compliment about the Boone information. She says, I think it was a toxic relationship and was doomed, but she was just as much the abuser as the abusee. Yes. Actually, based on control, George not able to have his own phone, Um, I'm going to give you guys a video link. Something I watched recently. And this is a psychologist therapist who has a channel called Guilty Words. Um, Not too big, about 10,000 subscribers. But very interesting the way they look at some of the testimony that is already we've all seen and that we know is coming in on Sarah Boone. Um, she has some interesting takes on it, things that, well, I had thought myself, and it actually was reassuring to me to hear a professional actually, and someone who doesn't spend as much time reading all the legal documents as I do, just going by the interviews and the things that they see. I do enjoy their take on it. I'm not saying that they're 100% right about everything or that we should just let go with whatever they say. I just think it's more additional information for you. Okay. Um, yeah, it might be this one, Juju. Juju is saying that she just watched one this morning, and it might be this one because this one's the latest. And it was about the interview. And the reason I'm directing you back there is because I think it's important to remember Sarah's words in story in what she's been saying for 4 years and how all of a sudden it's different. But then again, I do have a treat for you. Not only giving you a homework assignment to go watch a video or something like that, because I mean, watch it if you want, but then don't. If you don't. But what I do have for you that I want you to watch right now is Sarah in court today, because I want to talk about it. Okay, are you ready? I'm going to play it real quick. It's very short. It's only 54 seconds. So pay attention. Here we go. Sarah's got spiffy new clothes, although spiffy is not exactly how I would refer to them. And oh, look how happy Sarah is. She got her shoes. I'm sorry, I just can't help the snark. Sitting next to her is Mr. Henderson, the second chair. The man there behind is more than likely one of the jury representatives, I believe. The one that is going to help them with jury selection and questioning and stuff like that. A jury selection expert, so to speak. And this is Mr. Owens. Okay, so she's wearing seafoam and a gray suit. Okay, and well, she was quite chatty today with Mr. Owens and all. And with all of this going on about battered spouse syndrome and the evidence that needs to be provided, Mr. Owens took most of the time today explaining to the judge that poor Sarah has to get up at 2:30 in the morning to get ready for court because she wants to wear her clothes and she wants special things to get ready for transport, and that she doesn't get back till 9:30 to her cell, and that, well, she's tired and exhausted by then and she needs snacks. Yesterday, he was worried about whether she'd get a shower. I'm sure everybody in the court was worried about that. But to ask the judge to make the prison allow her to have snacks, she gets 3 meals while she's there. I mean, and I know she's been written up several times for having more than 30 slices of cheese in her personal possession at any given time. And I realize that, she has put on some weight over the years, but that's because of, like, a different lifestyle. She's not drinking anymore. She doesn't get to exercise. She's not as active. It's a pretty sedate lifestyle in jail, and I'm not going to hold that against her. But to ask for peppermints and cookies and juice boxes so that she could stay awake during her own murder trial? I don't know how else this woman can make this all about her. And so I would like to take the time right now to remind everybody who's listening that someone died. George Torres Jr. is no longer with us. And this is not the Sarah Boone Show. This is the murder trial for someone who is not here anymore and didn't deserve to die. I don't understand how she doesn't get that. All I'm hoping is that people see who she really is out there. I want her to get a fair trial. I want nothing to go wrong. I don't. I want it to be fair and legal, but I don't want it to be the dog and pony show of Sarah Boone. The I just cannot believe how insulting and disrespectful that is to Mr. Torres' family, anyone who knew him or loved him. I mean, I the entitlement is just too much. And you know what? I agree with you, Deep State Annex. And hello, it's nice to see you here. Thank you for joining us. It's not going to help with the jury, I don't think. But they don't get to see this. Okay. I think it's very important for the trial tomorrow's motion hearing, and that's why I'm going to be there bright and early, and I'm going to hope, it's going to be covered. Kathy Rosso from Law and Crime said she would be uh they would be covering it live, so I know there's at least one feed that I will be able to use. She's also put out the information about the change in schedule and everything. She's been in the courtroom, even though they're not allowed to actually view, put out any of the jury proceedings, and that's fair, and I agree with that. Actually, we don't need to see that. We do know that there are 53 or 54 now, that this judge needs to sit 6 jurors, and he wants supposed to be a minimal of 4 alternates. He wants more. I don't blame him. He doesn't want anything to disrupt this trial. When you have only 6 jurors, it's quite easy to have to keep replacing jurors. So I don't blame him for getting more alternates. I would think we'll probably end up with 6 and 6. Okay. The 53 are said to be a good selection from the ages of 18 all the way up to people in their 60s, in a good mix of men and women. I will say that we haven't heard a lot of pressuring questions from the defense and or the prosecution yet, because voir dire hasn't happened. Okay. We'll get to know more about their questions after that. But right now, most of these people are saying they haven't heard of this trial that much. The ones that have been asked how much influence or what they did here. And either the judge dismissed them or they went through based on it. There was some tete-a-tete back and forth and some funny things. One guy saying he had an eye appointment, and the judge going back and forth to see if it affected how he was seeing today, and him saying something along the lines that affects how I see every day. And the courtroom's just laughing because, George Kranick is actually remanded himself by saying, oh, well, I'll be more specific in how I ask my questions from now on. I mean, it was a lighthearted moment, and George Kranick does have a great sense of humor, I have seen. But this process, he doesn't want anything to mess up, you know. And also, that's a good question there, Mousy. And what about everyone else who goes to trial? Well, they don't matter. I mean, Sarah should have been the only one to get hair and makeup, but she didn't get either. She gets to comb her hair out, like that's about it. But makeup, contraband with the prison, and that was a hard no, and the judge wouldn't go there. Okay. Now she did actually get to take a shower, even though she goes back to the cell by 9:30. They did let her take a shower last night, and then she should. But now she's complaining she doesn't have enough outfits to change into. Most people wear the same thing every single day. I mean, unless they're free to change in their own clothes, but those in jail, they don't really get a large selection. Okay. But apparently, being indigent, not being able to pay her bills, doesn't really matter to Sarah Boone. She wants everybody to pay. And I guess we should have known that, because if you'll remember, she's been complaining because Brian, her ex-husband, won't pay for extra commissary meals for her, for hot meals, and give her extra money. He really doesn't owe her much. She may be the mother of his child. Well, she's on trial for murder, and why should he have to pay her way? She's just really, there's just so much, so much. And I don't want to be all down on Sarah, although it is really hard because the entitlement is really starting to bug me. Bug me. Wow. Is someone thinks prison is supposed to be a 5-star resort? Apparently. Apparently, you know. She definitely thinks that this is it. This is her moment too. Um she was very happy with the attention she got today. The big issue is because she's going to be too tired in court if she doesn't have a bag of candy and some peppermints in juice boxes. Oh, and either a Pop Tart or some cookies. I kid you not. Yeah. And yes, she does have money, at the commissary. She can buy whatever her prison allowance thing is, from there. But she's not allowed to travel with them, Mousy. That's the thing. It's not like she can bring a bag of cookies with her to court. You're not allowed to have that. You know, I do recall during the Johnny Depp trial that the judge made an allowance for candy to be there for Johnny Depp, based on a nervous habit of his. And I do remember the defense and Johnny Depp eating candy during the whole trial. You know, stress eating, perhaps, Anna. Like, I get that, but I just think that there's more pressing things this defense team could be working on than whether or not Sarah gets candy. All I can say is that Sarah showed up in court. If you noticed with what I showed you, all of the papers she has, it kind of leads me to believe that Sarah is the one directing everything. And so she's not paying any attention to what they're actually going to present as defense. Well, it just further makes me believe that Sarah is a bit delusional. And I'm not going to say she's had an easy life, because she probably hasn't. And she probably was in a very horrible relationship that was very stressful and very damaging and involved some physical and mental abuse. But I think it went both ways. I'm starting to wonder if this woman is competent. When I see the little smirk on her face on what she thinks important is, I don't think she's doing anything in her best interest. She may think it is, but wow. Yeah, that was a civil case, Mouse, and it's a little bit different, you know. But hey, Jasper, how you doing? There is no way she actually needs to get up at 2 a.m. to be ready. Yes, but like the prison wakes her up on their time. They do have to have her at the court by 8 something. And so they need to actually make arrangements for the defense to get there with clothes and everything. And they have to do like a bed check-in and make special arrangements and stuff. So that is based on the prison's time, not Sarah. Sarah's not the one who's saying she wants to get up at 2 a.m. The prison is getting her up. The prison starts everything early. They have to make sure that she has breakfast and all of these other things. She cannot, like, the showers don't open until 7 something in the morning, so she cannot get a shower prior to court. She has to wait until that night, you know. And it's based on the prison schedule, you know. But they're using it to make it like a sad sack situation with the judge. Like, Sarah's not prepared for court and she looks tired, and that's going to be prejudicial to the jury because they shouldn't know that she's in jail. Yes, they should. She's on trial for murder. Exactly. In that plea, exactly. Guilty Words also did something on the plea. And also Dr. Todd Grande came out with something about her refusal to take the plea. He had some interesting points on it too. I just like to pull in all the different arguments that I can. Almost everyone out there doing legal was like they could not believe she didn't take the plea and that it was a mistake and that they can't believe that the defense didn't push harder. And in some of the legal community out there, they're actually saying that they do believe that Sarah is leading the defense here, and the defense is just doing what Sarah wants. And that could be a double-edged sword. Will it lead to incompetent representation and an appeal? We shall see. We shall see. But the state's getting salty, and they're getting pretty snarky about all of this. But we're going to find out more about it tomorrow morning. Okay, and I can't wait to see her actual mannerisms in church, with in trial, actually in front of the judge again, with her full clothes and her new slippers, shoes, or whatever. She seems quite pleased. She is actually eating up, from what I can see, all of the attention. It's almost like horrifying to watch it, because she's really just soaking it all in, like that's what she craves. And that kind of leads me to think that there's something more going on in that head, like it's just not right. And I do want a competent trial. I do want it to go forward. I don't want any loopholes or any mistakes that are going to cause an issue. I want justice, justice for everyone involved. She deserves a fair trial. And I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that we are going to have opening statements are scheduled for Thursday, Friday at the latest. I'm going to schedule for Thursday morning for opening statements, and just keep pushing that stream till we get the actual date. But I'm going to be ready. Well, tomorrow morning we're definitely doing motions. So I'm going to look through for some questions here. Um, and then we're going to move on to the next topic. I have 3 others for you today. Some of them are surprising, yeah, very surprising, actually. Um, One of the people that I follow on Twitter, let me just give you her Twitter here. This is the woman who is the actual one of she's the managing editor of Law at Law and Crime, and she's been keeping us appraised of what's going on in the actual courtroom of Sarah Brune and several other cases, of course. All right. But she's got some particulars on there that happened, during the day. If you want to check it out, it was kind of boring, except for like the video, getting to see what she wore. I do think she looked better in the darker clothes. I do think that this suit is making her look rather frumpy, and I don't know if that's on purpose or not. What do you guys think? You think she's trying to look a bit frumpy? I don't. I mean, I know she doesn't get to pick out these clothes herself. Okay, they're supposed to be paid and brought by the defense. So I don't know. Let's see. Yes, I imagine any day now she's going to want the supervisor, the judging supervisor, to weigh in, because Judge Kranick has been way too fair to everybody and not listening only to her. Yeah. I say that all tongue in cheek. I'm sure you all know. She needs to stay awake to write her letters. Thankfully, she hasn't sent any to the judge. She's been saving it all. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. She has a right to a fair trial. Whether she deserves one is another issue. This is true, Liam, except for we don't, in law here, we don't get to decide that. She gets it no matter what, right? And we won't. We won't. I do want her to have one, because I actually want to see justice served. And I think we're going to see some rather interesting back and forth when it comes to this defense. I'm glad you feel good, Jasper. I'm glad to hear that. That actually makes me happy. What was that? Wait, she hasn't. Wait, she hasn't what? She has not written any letters lately, unless she's writing them to the settlement judge. Because her alimony got held until the trial is over, because uh, Brian Boone filed a petition that he shouldn't have to pay her, since she doesn't need the money to support her lifestyle. That agreement was going to end sooner or later. They had joint custody, and yet he had to do everything. Oh, remember, he was calling her because she wasn't even showing up to pick up her son on a regular basis on her days. Well, she wants joint custody, and she wants the money to actually take care of the son on the other half, but the son doesn't want to stay at her house or with her. Mhm. It's a little convoluted. Yep. Hello, Sean. Okay, so the next 3 I have. Well, let me just I don't have anything to. Well, yes, I do. On one, I do. Okay. Here you go. Adam Fravel, Alex Murdaugh, or Andrew Tate. We got the three A's. Adam, Andrew, or Alex. Put it in the chat. Where are we going next? Please give me some guidance here. How you doing, Sean? And these three were kind of like, oh, Alex is a surprise, isn't it? Taint. Mrs. Cassandra says Taint. And Liam says Alex. Okay, let's see if we get a tiebreaker here. We got one of each. Hi there, Sean. Thanks for all the bears. They're so cute. Oh, we got two Alexes. And another Tate. Wait a minute. Somebody break the tie. Now we've got two for each. And we could do Adam last. Don't break the tie. Break the tie. Quick coffee. I am sipping my coffee there, Jasper. That's a good idea. I'll take a sip of coffee while somebody else votes. Otherwise, I'm just going to like spin the wheel. Oh, it's going to be okay. We're going to talk about Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan in the case in Romania specifically. The first case that was filed by DCOT, okay, in Romania, had a hearing today. And it was quite a surprise because at this hearing, if you'll remember, they pushed all the evidence through and said there would be a trial. And then the brothers got a chance for one more appeal, which the attorneys did. And this hearing was in regards to that. And a panel of judges decided that some of the issues, and this was a closed hearing, no reporters, no spectators, just the actual accused, their lawyers, and pertinent people like witnesses that would need to be there. Okay. On this panel of judges, they decided that the issues that were brought up by the defendant's attorneys were credible, that they're going to have to look at it further, that there may be something in the DCOT indictment and evidence, something that doesn't fit together exactly as it should. Now, of course, that is an actual good thing for the Tate brothers. They're actually celebrating right now because there's going to be another hearing on October 28th or 29th. The date keeps going back and forth. I will admit that we only get our information through journalists who are actually there. And there's translation issues, and there's also they weren't allowed in the courtroom, so they have to verify everything too. But it does look like it's going to be October 28th or 29th. And at that point, they're going to decide whether they have to give the case back to DCOT to re-indict, or if this issue that came up can be clarified and the trial still gets set with a date. Now, if they decide that the issue can be clarified enough with a filing, a motion, or a clarification from DCOT, and it's not, that highly prejudicial against the defendants, then it will go through and they will assign a date for the trial. Okay. If not, then it has to go back. And if they remove them from arrest under the first indictment, we still have them under arrest for the second indictment. So the way that I'm understanding it, they would not get transferred right away back to England to face their charges there. Remember, there's the extradition order. The Tates seem to think that if the first one goes away, then the second one doesn't matter. But since this is a separate indictment, it doesn't really work that way. Okay. So we're going to have to see. We're going to need more legal clarification either way out of Romania in regards to that. So we're going to have to watch for October 28th to see. In the meantime, they did receive some of their cars back at the last settlement. They received everything that was under lease or that they could prove was used with got funding outside the realm of what was called the RICO money, or the money that was gotten through ill-gotten gains and stuff like that. And so, but they're claiming they received them all back and that it was a great win, but that is not true. They did not. If you go through what was seized, they did not. They got maybe two-thirds of them, and they were mostly the cars that were registered in other people's names. or leased. So they didn't own them. So they're not a true asset, which is one of the reasons they got returned, that they weren't a true asset of the Tate brothers, which is the reason they were being held, to go against lines, fees, and in any kind of unpaid taxes or things that would be assigned against them by the Romanian government. So if it doesn't technically belong to them, why hold it? But the Tates kind of spun that on the social medias to say that they found the actual acquisition to be illegal. No, they didn't. They found it to be appropriate, but it got straightened out with paperwork at the end on what they owned and what they didn't. There was nothing illegal about it. They said that it was because the evidence was unfounded against them, so they weren't going to hold the assets anymore. And I would say, well, that's not exactly a proper statement either. If you look at all the buildings and bank accounts of yours that they are holding, then obviously the courts do not believe that all of the accusations are unfounded, because otherwise you would have got everything back and not just a bunch of rental cars. But you know how it is. People can spin anything. Okay. But let me just tell you, like, Andrew is still pissed off at every reporter that says a word about him. And as evidence of that, this is after court today in Romania with one of the reporters that we get information from on Twitter. And here we go.
Andrew, how did it go?
You'll see. I lost my lighter. You'll see.
Good news?
Well, depends which side of the fence you're on. If you're BBC and you're hoping innocent men go to jail, it's going to be bad news for you.
I'm just asking you a simple question.
Okay, very Mr. Non-biased, of course.
Yeah, he's no fan of the BBC. But I don't blame him, since the English government has already seized a bunch of his money for back taxes, and he didn't even get a chance to defend himself because they proved it, like lockdown, boom, done. And they took it, and they're going to be going after more. And they did actually get an extradition order against him in Romania, so face charges for what he calls his innocent man persecution, or things that shouldn't matter anymore, because that was back then. And he's so good now, right? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what he did, breaking the law and all. I mean, you could break the law as long as it was 20 years ago, right? Not. Anyway, that's the update on Andrew Tate. A little surprising, but I always said I would be fair. And this is a win for their side. There is some doubt in something in the case. Now, do we have the exact detail of what it is? No, because the court was sealed today and they won't let us know. And of course, the Tate brothers are saying it's the whole case. So I know that's not true. Because otherwise they would have actually tossed it today, instead of saying they needed to look at exactly what was brought up in further detail with the 3 or 4 judges and then have another hearing about it. If it was as the Tate brothers are putting out, there wouldn't be a case, at least the first case anymore. The first indictment would be tossed and there'd be no case to go to trial, right? So there's always more to the story, and we're going to try to find out. Hey, Mallory, good to see you. Yes, being biased against guilty. Yes, the BBC, they're so biased against them, yes, for the reporting. How dare they collect all those back taxes of them with his own words? Like, the reason they didn't get to testify is they used his own words in video where he said, I have never paid a cent to the English government for my taxes, at the same time that he said he made millions while he was there. Yeah, he just kind of, like, he sealed the deal for them himself. I always said he's his own worst enemy. He really is. Okay. All right. So up next. Oh, and by the way, let me just show you. Here is the Twitter of one of the reporters in Romania that I have been following. There are many other accounts that are, well, they're not journalists. Okay, this is the freelance journalist. He covers Ukraine and he also covers in Romania. Remember, we did have another one who did that too, and he disappeared because he covered something in Ukraine and got himself like a target put on him, and he just disappeared from the socials like overnight, like that, saying that like the Russians were after him or something like that. Well, I don't know what happened. I just know he's not around anymore. And so I had to look for others. There are plenty of American accounts on Twitter that are reporting on this and go so far as to get documentation from Romania and have it translated, and have been pretty resourceful in trying to get the information. But I like to actually go with some of the journalists because they tend, even if they don't like the way the brothers are handling things, they do try to be as unbiased as they can. Now, it does look like the prosecutor's office of DCOT could have a little bit of problems here with the case. Something came up in regards to the evidence in something in the indictment, and that could mean multiple things. It could mean that the charge wasn't properly listed in the indictment based on the evidence there, or the evidence didn't support a preliminary look to the charge based on judicial standard. Remember, Romanian process is a lot different than here in America, and it's much longer, and it is actually skewed to benefit the accused, to make sure that they're not wrongfully prosecuted. That's why I get like so annoyed when they keep saying they're innocent and that they're just being persecuted, when everything in Romania is set up to protect them against that. In this whole like three judges at a time, multiple reviews, different layers of review before they actually get to trial. This is all to benefit the accused. In currently, that's the situation we're in, where this actual ruling that they need another hearing to look at what a problem could be in the indictment with DCOT is in benefit to the defendants, Andrew, Tristan Tate, and the two accomplices, Georgiana and Luen. They will benefit from this, from the delay and the look through. The look through by the judicial. It'll either go back to DCOT or it'll go forward to trial. There's only two choices. If they set the trial date, no further appeals. There'll be no appeal on this decision on October 28th. So we'll see. It either goes back to the drawing board or we go forward. I thought we were going forward. Today was supposed to be the day that we got a trial date. But, you know, weirder things have happened. Weirder things have happened. Okay. All right. So let me get that off here. Oh, the other thing I had was in understanding the different things that could throw the prosecution's case, DCOT, an account called Human Waste laid out the Romanian process for this review here, and it's worth a look at. And this was before the hearing actually happened. It was early in the morning, and they just laid all the different reasons that could delay this process. And I thought it was very interesting. So I made a Twitter thread for it to capture it, and thought that you all might enjoy the read through too, since we don't have legal documents from Romania like right now on this. Okay. Now, all right. So let me close some more of this up. And the next thing I want to talk to you about is Adam Fravel in the murder of Madeleine Kingsbury. Now, he's been in jury selection since Monday, and that also was going quite slow. The first couple of days, they knew it was going to be bad when they only got 1 or 2 people. Now they need 17. They need 12 jurors, and they need 5 alternates, okay? Not like Sarah Boone. We only need 6 in Murder 2 in Florida, plus alternates, okay? But they need a full 12 in Minnesota, where this trial is being held. Now, Adam Fravel is being accused of the murder in the removal of her body and tampering of evidence in this case. And the jury selection has been quite arduous, you know. It's been taking quite a few days, and this trial itself has been delayed again. They're saying the earliest that they will have opening statements now will be Thursday, if not Friday. And they already have 16 of the jurors, okay? They have 10 women, 10 men and 6 women. And they, of the 7 and 6 that was, they have all of, it looks like once they go through the process, we'll find out how many will be sitting the jury and how many will be alternates. Because remember, they do that numbering thing. Now, they've been going to voir dire as they go. It's not like the process with Sarah Boone, where Judge Kranick is getting a big pool and they're going to go individually. like through the 53 all at once. They've been going as they go and selecting them. They had a couple, and they still need one more alternate, which is what they're going to go through tomorrow. And then hopefully they will start with opening statements on Monday. Now, part of what I found interesting is the defense is eliminating anyone who has anything to do with domestic abuse. Whether they worked in the industry, they knew somebody that had it, or they were in a prior relationship with it. And I think that is because this is going to be a big proponent in this case. One of the reasons I'm following it is that they are really trying to eliminate Madeleine Kingsbury's voice and the voice of her family and friends who knew that she was in a contentious relationship. Trying to say that the words themselves are prejudicial against the defendant. Well, of course they are. Like, it doesn't mean, like, they lead to motive, like, and the state is allowed to do that. Well, a lot of the moves that they've made to eliminate this type of evidence has really been shocking to me. But they still are on it, and they're trying to build the best case of defense for Adam Fravel himself. Now, with delaying of this trial, it's going to make scheduling of the witnesses a little more cumbersome, and that's up in the air right now. Remember, this trial has over 157 witnesses listed. Not all of them are going to testify, but that's what was filed. And another thing is that the proceedings are sealed. We're not going to get any audio or video out of this trial, and that was done at the request of the family. They didn't want Adam Fravel being able to disparage Madeleine Kingsbury to the public anymore. The judge had issued an order that said that the merchandise that the family, in support of Madeleine and to get everything out there to the public, had commissioned T-shirts and wristlets and bracelets and pins that were, supporting Maddie against and in the purple color for domestic abuse in general. They're not allowed to wear anything like that if you are going to go witness it, or if you come as a witness, if you are there witnessing the proceedings at all, or you're representing the family. None of it is allowed to be in the courtroom where the jury can see, because it will be prejudicial to Adam Fravel. So the defense has been very successful in limiting a lot of things that would label him a certain way ahead of time. Now, what we don't know is whether Adam Fravel is going to take the witness stand. I don't think his defense would recommend it. That would leave him to cross-examination that could be quite contentious. Some of you have read the documents and know about the missing cameras and the actual visuals that are on file of eyewitness accountings of incidences with him. And it's probably best if he stays silent in the matter. He is still in jail. He's been photographed wearing his orange, prison outfit. However, I'm not sure if that was in court or not. Previously, they had allowed people to wear regular clothing to court as to not be prejudicial. Well, we'll have to see. I'm going to wait for the actual proceedings reports on that. Now, some people are listing exactly what the jurors that were selected actually do for a living, their approximate age, whether they were married or single or had children. I don't really feel it's necessary to disclose any of that. I do want to give a mix of women versus with men. I mean, we all think that it's going to be 12 peers looking at him, and it shouldn't really matter, man or woman. But I think there is a different perspective on how Adam Fravel will be perceived. The same way I think that there's a different perspective from a man or a woman on how Sarah Boone will be perceived. Not that it's going to be drastically different, but it is going to weigh in. Which is why, I see that there's more men than women, and I'm wondering what the final mix of the 12 jurors are going to be towards the end. It seems like all day yesterday, everyone who got through was a male. They say, where in the beginning, almost most of the females got through. Like the 6 were in the first day. Like I think 4 of them were picked. In the next day, 2 more. All right, and since then it's been mostly men. So hey, Couch, how you doing? All right. So if there's not any questions on Adam Fravel, I mean, that's basically the update on him. I don't have a document to share with you. That was all from court, reporting from actually local news organizations that are in the courtroom with the proceedings. But there'll be no video or audio, but we will be updating weekly on this. This is a case that we've been following from the start, and we definitely want to see it to its end. It just happens to be going off at the same time as Sarah Boone, along with others that I've probably heard. The Delphi case is out there. Okay. Stern is out there. And also there was supposed to be a press release or some kind of statement being made today in regards to the Melendez brothers, which was very curious. That's right. Couch, don't delete anybody for caps today. They were all celebrating my 5K, and they were doing it in caps, and so I made the whole day like a free day of caps. I don't want anybody penalized for that. They're just happy, and I appreciate it. Yeah. You know what, Liam? I do believe that they're trying to give Adam Fravel, as they should, the best defense possible. I just wish they weren't going so hard on the victim for it. They're going to try to make her out as a liar, and somehow she deserved it. I find it quite distasteful. This is definitely a trend, Hannah. Very much this happens in law. Like in our desire for a fair trial, we often will go to the other side a little bit in trying to make sure it's not prejudicial. But the silencing of a victim's voice is just too much for me to take. That's why I want to see this one through. I want to see how the prosecution handles this. It's like I don't think they should get over. Remember, they did eliminate some of the witnesses based on the fact that they didn't have anything new to testify to, and it was just going to be redundancy, like hammering the message home, kind of being really, prejudicial and not probative, to the case. Actually, we have to trust that the jury is going to be able to see a couple of these incidences and not have like everybody report, like telling them the same thing over and over again. It's just too much, and it makes for the trial to get muddy and get too long also. No problem there at all. Wow. Yeah, you'll have to tell me about that, Kyle. Kyle is saying that he just came from a hearing about the data breach from the Flat Earth app. He was practically shaking hearing about it. It was so bad. Yep, right now we were talking Maddie. Yep. Except for what I just said about Rocket's case, Well, yeah, these spouse abusers are very what you can use for the law. And this comes up in the Sarah Boone case also, right? I mean, it's just a female, or also trying to silence George's voice, by like using things that happened against him as if it benefits Sarah. Like, that's not right either. Okay. So, all right. So now the last thing I have to talk to you about. It was a surprise to me. Oh, and for those of you that want to read about the jury selection, I'm not going to report on the particulars of who's and what, but I know some of you are interested, and that's just fine. So here's an article that details some of it from a local news organization in the area that's following it. Okay. Now, the last thing I have today to talk about, it was a bit surprising, and it's Alex Murdaugh. Now, the last time we heard about Alex Murdaugh, we're still waiting on the appeal to see if he is actually going to have the denial of his murder trial retrial appealed by the Superior Court. they did agree to listen to it. It could take months and months and months. They were talking maybe Christmas, Um, we don't know when it's going to come through. They take the time that they take, okay? We do know that the appeal on the financial crimes verdict that Judge Newman in sentencing that he gave through, because remember that Alex Murdaugh pled guilty, and then Judge Newman actually sentenced him to what, 120 years or something like that. It was astronomical. So even if they do overturn the murder verdict, he's not getting out of jail anytime soon. Okay. But there were other things that we covered during Alex Murdaugh's escapades, and that would have been the Mallory Beach civil lawsuit that came about from the death of Mallory Beach during the boating accident, which is said to have triggered and motivated everything that Alex did in regards to killing his wife and his son, which he's been convicted of. So I will say killing his wife and his son, although he is trying to get an appeal for that, to try to get a new trial based on the conduct of Becky Hill in some jury issues. Okay. And who knows, we could or could not get a new trial in whether these things get entered in regards to the financial crimes in the motivation that when the Mallory Beach civil lawsuit got fired. Okay, let's start from the beginning. Okay. The family of 19-year-old Mallory Beach sued the Murdaugh family and many others, like Parker's in several. The people that had the barbecue where Paul and people who were on the boat. Paul Murdaugh, the younger son of Alex Murdaugh, who was actually found out to be the one driving the boat, and who had a blood alcohol level at the age of 19 of 0.28. Okay. 3 times over the legal limit. He should not have been driving that boat. So those that served him or knew about it or contributed were all sued by Mallory Beach's family. Now, most of that lawsuit had already been settled. Remember, Buster Murdaugh gave up part of his settlement from the sale of the estate from his mother and his son, and his brother, not his son. He gave it up because he was named in the lawsuit because Paul used his ID to get served, okay, illegally. He was named, okay. Paul and Maggie were also named in the lawsuit for contributing. Maggie being part owner of the boat, okay, and helping to cover up at the hospital some of the statements that Paul had made. And Paul for driving the boat and drinking excessively and causing the accident to where she was dumped out of the boat and not found again and drowned. Okay. There were several others in the boat who also sued. Okay. And there's been settlements done. All right. Paul and Maggie's estate had settled last year, and we reported on that. Parker's settled for $15 million. Parker's was the convenience store chain to where he purchased, where he, being Paul, had purchased the alcohol that he continued to drink. There was another bar that served them that also got named and settled for some money. Okay. And we have been wondering why Alex Murdaugh, the one who was documented at the hospital trying to get people to change their stories. Okay. And we've seen this in the documentaries. We heard about this in the court case. The attorney for Mallory Beach actually testified in the court case. Okay. Mm. They are saying, they were saying that the fear of the investigation, the actual disclosure of Mark Tinsdale coming after Alex Murdaugh, because Alex Murdaugh said he didn't have any money, and Mark Tinsdale said, that's ridiculous. I want a full disclosure. He went to the court and demanded a full accounting closure of all of Alex Murdaugh's financial records. And this is what the prosecution led in the murder trial as to being the catalyst for why he freaked out and killed his family. Okay. Based on this boat case that Mark Tinsdale had, a Mallory Beach's wrongful death suit. Okay. They say they feared feared the actual investigation. It was going to expose everything, and it did eventually. Mark Tinsdale actually did provide evidence and testimony in the case. Some of us were there to see that, yeah. But now all this many time later, okay, after Murdaugh admitted to stealing $12 million from his family law firm, after he's been sentenced to 40 years in federal prison for the death of his wife and his child, okay, over there in Hampton County, the reputation of the Murdaughs as being ones who actually for decades controlled and influenced everything in the criminal and civil courts, all that came to an end. We heard testimony from nurses that Alex Murdaugh and his, had actually tried to talk to personnel in regards to changing statements they were going to make about what Paul Murdaugh had said and others had said, in actually intimidating one of the teams in the room who was injured at the time to not talk or to change their story. They said all this came to a head that led to the actual demise of Maggie and Paul. But what's happened now is that there are so many settlements to be made in the wrongful absconding of funds through the family law firm and personally by Alex Murdaugh that the estates really don't have much. And the last ones to settle was Progressive Insurance, who was the boat insurance company, who was also named and responsible for some of the payout to some of these claims. But until it could be proved that Alex Murdaugh actually does not have any money, Progressive was not going to pay unless Mark Tinsley and the Mallory Beach family in this lawsuit released him from the claim, because he's indigent and they don't want it down the line. So they finally decided that based on the fact that he had been settling all of the assets where they needed to, and he didn't have some missing money somewhere that they could go with, they did decide to release him from and have now received a $500,000 payment from Progressive Life Insurance for the Alex Murdaugh portion of this lawsuit to finally close the Mallory Beach civil lawsuit in full, with all parties being paid. There were others on the boat who also sued, and those have all been settled also. And it's a chapter we wanted closed. We want Mallory Beach's family to heal. It was a death that shouldn't have happened. It was callous and no one thinking. And everything that happened afterwards to cover it up was just horrible, the way the family was treated. We've talked about this before, the lengths that they went through to try to just push their weight around and callously disregard the family's feelings of a girl who died way too young at 19. And so for them, I hope that they now have peace. I know the money doesn't actually make peace, but the settling of everything, finally, maybe. No more court, no more filing of paperwork, no more of that. I hope that Mark Tinsley knows he did a great job for the family. He made everybody pay that should, everybody involved that was responsible, everybody who had anything to do with doing something the wrong way that led to the death of Mallory Beach, accidental or not. So, that's one of the things that lawyers have to do that take years and years, and civil lawsuits take a long, long time. And if you saw Mark Tinsley on that witness stand, you knew he wasn't having any of it. He was a barracuda, and he knew that this man, Alex Murdaugh, did great disservice to many, many people. And he's going to make sure that everybody knew about it. And he did. So that's my update on Alex Murdaugh. Let me just check. I'm going to give you guys an article on that goes into a little more detail for you. Okay. We're still waiting on the Supreme Court for the murder, but we will see. We will see where that goes. Well, go back over here to the comments. What part was denied? Oh, the part that was denied was the financial crimes, Mouse. That appeal was just tossed. Yeah. I remember Bubba kindly, Anna. Poor Bubba got blamed for everything. Prime example of privileged behavior in small towns. Absolutely, Anna. It was in how Alex Murdaugh took down a whole family. Like, he had judges in his family. I remember Judge Newman having to order that the courtroom be stripped of all the officials that were related to the Murdaughs, all of the portraits that were in the hallways in the courtroom, so not to be prejudicial or influential to the jury. Um, it kind of led to a lot in with everything going on in South Carolina there, especially in Hampton County, politically, and with the legal system in general there. The Alex Murdaugh trial was a spotlight on the area, and there's been a lot of stuff come forward since. Becky Hill's actions cannot be just swept under the rug. There needs to be some accountability there, and it might be shocking to some of you, but I actually think, in light of what Becky Hill did as a court official, in order to keep the jury process as pristine as possible and sacred as possible, I don't think there's anything wrong with giving this man a new trial. I do believe it's a waste of taxpayers' money. I do believe that Judge Toll believed it wasn't necessary because the jury had made the correct outcome in her view. Well, the simple fact that that's what she stated in her order leads me to believe the Supreme Court is going to allow the appeal and he's going to get a new trial. But you all can call me on it later if it doesn't happen. But that's my prediction, Yeah, there is right now another Murdaugh Netflix short going on. It's like this story is never ending, and there's so many different angles to it in different legs of it, different lawsuits. There were all of those financial crimes, 120, more than 90 indictments, hundreds of individual charges for illegal financial crimes that he's all like. Even if he gets a new trial for murder, he's never getting out of jail. Not in this lifetime. He was denied his appeal on the financial crimes and the fact that he admitted everything during the trial and in a side order with the prosecution afterwards. And just because he doesn't like the sentence that Judge Newman handed down because he thinks Judge Newman doesn't like him and that Becky Hill was Judge Newman's clerk, sorry. That was all legal. The sentencing was legal. I think she was referring to the jury's decision being based on enough evidence to make that decision. You mean what Mousy said? But without context, it sounds bad. You know what? You mean what Becky Hill said? Yes, but the fact that she even said it, and with all of the other things that are coming up about her, just in order to keep the process to not have a black stain on it, I do think it might be necessary to give him another trial, because I can't see them stopping with the appeal process. Like, Griffin and Harpootlian will just keep going. Oh, you mean Judge Toll? Yes, Liam, I know, but it was a poor choice of words. It was a poor choice of words, and it sounds like opinion, which she's not supposed to give. If she had just said it in legal terms like you are, saying that the preponderance of evidence proves that the jury made a rightful decision based on the information they were given. If that was the full sentence, no problem. But it wasn't. And so it left a little loophole for Harpootlian and Griffin to just swoop right in there and make a big deal about. But I agree with you. I don't think she meant, oh, I think he did it, so I'm not going to allow a retrial. That is not how Judge Toll rolls. I get that. I know that. And I think everybody else should too. But they are using her actual words against her, and because it's open for interpretation, people can interpret it the other way. And, the justice system doesn't like that. Yeah, she should have said something more along what you said or I just said. which was more concise to what we both believe she meant, I'm sure. And yep, I do agree. I don't think she really did anything wrong. She did do the same questions to every juror. But then again, there was one juror that says they were influenced. Whether they're lying or not, they said it under oath. Okay? They said that they were influenced by what Becky Hill said. That alone should get a mistrial. Yeah? If we follow the rule all the way. Now, it is up to the judge to decide on whether or not it actually influenced them or not. And I get that. They do have discretion there. But it is up for appeal now. And I kind of think the Supreme Court may allow it. All things considered. If you dot the I's and cross the T's, they're going to want to firm it up. So, it's unfortunate that the judges have to be, put in a position where people are speculating about what they meant. I mean, they even went after Judge Newman because he sentenced him so harshly for the crimes of the financial crimes. But when you consider all of the victims and the amount of money and the scale of what he could have got, he didn't get the max on everything. I mean, they just didn't like the fact that there was no leniency there. Yes, he did confess. He should have years ago and just not did it. And it was the types of victims, his own family, his partners, victims of wrongful things that he sued for and then kept the money against his own clients. He's not a good man, And, if that showed on Judge Newman's face, well, who wouldn't? He doesn't have to like him. There's no law that says the judge has to actually like you. He just says he has to apply the law judicially and fairly by the letter of the law. And Judge Newman did. That's why it didn't get overturned. All right. So I believe on that, we're done. We did Boone. See you tomorrow morning for that one. We did Adam Fravel. There'll be another update at the end of the week because there's going to be opening statements, and we're going to do little videos on that. We did the Tate Brothers. At the end of the month, we're going to have another hearing on that. And then we just did Alex Murdaugh. And I think we might be done for a little while on that one until we hear from the Supreme Court on the appeal for the retrial for the murders, which he adamantly says he did not do. So on that, I hope you all have a really good evening. Thank you for joining me again for another True Crime Tuesday. I don't know if I'll be doing them during the Boone trial. I'm going to try to because we have a lot of other things we're covering, like P. Diddy and this trial with Fravel. We've got Courtney Clenny coming up. We've got the James Craig, the dentist. We've got quite a few others. We've got Dwayne Davis, Keefe D. So many others. And always looking for new ones. We've still got CoffeeZilla and Logan Paul, that civil case, which is like quite interesting. Well, on that, I want to thank you all. Just a little channel update. Tomorrow, definitely going to be live for the hearing. And then scheduling for Thursday, hopefully for opening statements, Oh, thank you, Liam. I'm not going to burn out. I'm going to be here. This is my hobby. And I'm so grateful to all of you for being here to support it and helping me enjoy it with your conversations in chat and your questions on the back of the videos and in my DMs, encouraging to learn more about these processes and the interesting things that happen in regards to it. I want to thank my mods too. Many of you have been here from the beginning, and I truly appreciate the support. You guys just being here every day to help keep it going has meant a lot to me. And to those of you in the background who keep me supported and, keep me focused on what the real things to concentrate are and not all the noise from outside. To those of you that help me with the videos, in particular for this intro, to both Mocking Media and MC Wrecker, who contributed to just me being able to play that every day. without getting any more little notices from YouTube about the music or anything. Oh, just all the little things you guys do. You send me information, you send me ideas, you just come and laugh with me, joke with me, and ask good questions. And we have great conversations. And I've got to say, I've enjoyed almost every day, even with all the hassles from outside influences or in real life hesitations. I will say all of that has done one thing, and I'm grateful for it. It helped me concentrate on what really matters. And that's whatever we all can find individually to make our days better, to keep ourselves amused, growing and changing, not harming others, and just enjoying ourselves, staying in our lane. And on that, I'm going to say goodnight, and I'll see some of you in the morning. Thank you all for being here. Don't forget to like, share, and comment. Please hit the back of those videos with anything you'd like to say about any of these cases, okay? Or new ones, as these trials wrap up. We might have a little space, okay? Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great night.